This is from David. Guggenheim targeted by protesters for accepting money from family with OxyContin ties. Now, so a quick refresher before we dive into this. This concerns Purdue Pharma. We did a story about them. They were one of the most notorious companies for overprescribing, for pushing for overprescriptions, bribing doctors and stuff like that to get OxyContin prescriptions, for upping the prices, for price gouging. They're one of the most notorious players in that in Big Pharma, so much so that they've been getting sued. They're not the only player. There's plenty more, and they're all despicable, but this is they've really taken the cake for the level of awfulness, and we did a story about that. I think it was about maybe a month or so ago. So this is concerning that company, to give you a little refresher. And I guess a Guggenheim in New York City was taking money from them. Okay, so what's going on here? The scraps of paper swirled through the Guggenheim Museum in New York City on Saturday night like confetti, thrown from an upper walkway into the central rotunda before floating to the ground. Designed to look like prescription slips for OxyContin, the powerful opioid painkiller, they were part of the latest protest targeting cultural institutions that accept donations from members of the Sackler family who own Purdue Pharma, the maker of the drug. Education facilities at the Guggenheim, including a theater and an exhibition gallery, are housed inside the 8,200 square foot Sackler Center for Arts Education. And this was a gift from the Sackler family, who own Purdue Pharma. The cloud of white slips created by a group founded by the photographer Nan Golden was a response to a recently disclosed statement by Richard Sackler, the son of a Purdue founder, who said years ago that OxyContin's launch would be followed by a blizzard of prescriptions that will bury the competition. Because that's what they want. They don't want to prescribe the drug to people who need it, who it'll help them. They just want a blizzard of prescriptions that will bury the competition. The prescription blizzard will be so deep, dense, and white, added Mr. Sackler, than a Purdue senior vice president, according to a lawsuit filed by Massachusetts Attorney General's office. So what did the people in New York City do? Well, they granted him his wish, but not in the form that he was hoping for. They did rain prescriptions down on him. They rained the slips down on him. So good for them. And, I've been to a Guggenheim before. They're very, very cool. I've been to the one in Venice. And I hope that they'll consider cutting their ties with this family. I mean, the way I see it, if they cut their ties, that's great. And if they don't, they'll have consequences for it. Some people are going to choose not to go there. And, I applaud that, because what Big Pharma does should not be legal. It's not okay. And, it takes something like just openly admitting you're trying to overprescribe, openly admitting, you're abusing the market share you have of the pharmaceutical industry. Openly just admitting that is what it takes to have any kind of consequence whatsoever. We should just outlaw the practice. We should outlaw evergreening. We should have less barriers to entry. And there's some bills out there. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Actually, we're working on a bill together so that the government can enter in and make generic drugs to keep the prices low. There was also that drug bill for drugs from Canada that Bernie Sanders had that Cory Booker helped stop. Why? Because he gets a lot of money from Big Pharma. So good on the people of New York City for sounding the alarm about this issue, because it's an issue we often don't look at. We have such a broken healthcare system. Like, healthcare is just so screwed up in this country that sometimes we forget the cyclical arms of that issue, i.e. Big Pharma. Sometimes we don't think about that as much, and we don't realize it's more than just this for-profit, messed-up insurance company model. That's a big thing. But there's also all these pharmaceutical producers that are doing all these other things that are keeping drug prices high, that are keeping us from getting the prescriptions we need, that are overprescribing for people, and it's all just to pad their pockets. Sometimes we forget about what Big Pharma's really doing because of how screwed up our health insurance industry is, and we know that we need to solve that immediately. So good on the activists for doing this.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news
on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news